Alright brothers, back to our database. In this one we're going to show you how to use the reports function in order to harness the power of our incredibly interesting database. So what we need to do is we have it in our tables, we're on our tables section, and you notice I've added another database table here. When I was doing that and I tried to run the reports, it made me find out the hard way that if you don't have your database registered whenever you first make your database, you can't run reports. So make sure you register your database. The second thing is this will let you see. This is actually one of our territories with do not calls. This lets you see all the different dates, the different house numbers. Of course, the territory number stays the same, and then the different streets. And we're going to organize these so that when we print them off, you can either print them on the back of your territory card as a do not call list, or you can actually use them on the as a territory for different languages. So we'll get out of this, and what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to reports. So we're going to use the wizard to create our report, and of course, as you can see, we've already made a report, and we're going to get rid of that one. So click on the wizard, and that opens up a bunch of little windows that we're going to have to go through. So basically, this lets us select the table that we're going to make the query or the report off of. And so, well, actually, it is a report. It's not a query. So we're going to pick 14A, and what that's really going to let us do is see a more complex table and how that organizes everything. So in the available fields, we're going to click this double arrow, which brings them all over. We're going to click Next, and then we don't need to relabel them, so we'll click Next. We don't want to group them, so we're going to click Next. Now this is where it really gets interesting. This is where we sort our data. So first of all, we want to sort by street, and that's going to put all the streets in alphabetical order. Then the next thing we want to do is we want to sort by house number. And what that lets us do is, since these are all ascending, it goes from house number 1 to house number 2 to house number 3 to house number 4 on streets alphabetically. We'll get to see that here in a minute when we actually run the report. So that's all we really need is street and house number. And then we're going to click Next. Now this is going to be how we format our report. I usually choose outline compact, and default is fine. Orientation, I usually print mine up and down, so portrait is what you want for that. And Next. And then this is the title of the report. I'll just leave it the same. Dynamic report allows it to update the report every time you update the information on your tables, so we want that. Now one trick is we're going to have to modify our report before we actually print the report out, because it kind of messes the date function up a little bit. I wish they would have fixed that, but they haven't yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Finish, and what that does is it's going to open up our report, but if you notice, it's just got kind of filler information in. And so what we want to do is we want to come in here to the date, and we want to highlight this number right here, and then we want to right click and go down to number format, and we want to change that to date. So that looks good there, and we'll hit OK. So when we do, we see the date comes up. And so that's our report. We want to go ahead and save that report and click the little red X to get out of there. And so now we've got our report. Now notice when we double click our report, it syncs to the data, and then it brings everything in line. So you've got your ID numbers, so if you delete a number or something, then that's fine, then you know which one you need to delete. Like if a do not call gets updated and you need to remove it from the territory, it's got the territory number. If you notice, the streets are all in order, descending there. Well, it's actually technically ascending. And saying the same thing with the numbers. So if you get on a street with a couple of calls, then it puts the lowest number first. And of course you've got your dates, your names, notes, and the last time that were updated. Since this is a do not call list, and if the person hasn't been contacted, then I usually put an update on when they were last called on, so it shows that we've actually been making our do not calls and they just haven't been there. Alright, so that's fine with that report. So if you want and you have your territory card already printed out, then you can just hit print. I usually take the cards and I'll flip them backwards and put them in the printer again and then print these do not calls on the back. Or you can print these off straight as a actual territory if you're in a foreign language group. So we can clear that out. And so that's pretty much it. The only other thing that you'd really want to know is how to update your tables. So if we go back to tables, and let's say somebody else moved into the territory and they're, say, Spanish, for instance, what we want to do is we want to come down here and we're going to add a number. So we're just going to go 25. And usually what I do is I go up and see how it highlights. Then you can just copy, go down, paste. And then, of course, you want your house number. And the street, we can say Cuellar. And the date, we can put, I don't know, 3/3/13. If I can type 13 right. And then the name, we can say Jesse. And note, Spanish. And that's pretty much it. So now if you notice up here, we need to save that and we can get out of it. So then the next time we run our report, then our information is going to include Jesse here. And of course, now with the reports, you have to make a report for each territory. I advise one table per territory, territory 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And then when you do your reports, you have to do the exact same thing. I have one report for each of the territories as they go down. So when you do this, it's a really good way to keep everything organized. In your tables, if you're foreign language, you can even use the updates or the notes as to who's calling on that person, so everybody knows who's calling on that person or if anybody's calling on them, and that'll help reduce the amount of double calls or triple calls that you're doing in your territory. And of course, don't forget to save your database whenever you're done. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, just email me. If you need any more territory videos, I'm planning on making a few of those here in the future, but for now, that's about it. Well, I hope you enjoy the videos.